Inferno, the fourth serial of Doctor Who's seventh season, first broadcast in 7 parts from the 9th of May to the 20th of June 1970, and written by Don Houghton. Now, whenever I asked which classic Doctor Who story I should try and watch next on social media, one that was always thrown into the mix was Inferno. People always said it was one of the best, and I liked the sound of it, but I had other stories I wanted to go watch through first, but finally decided to bite the bullets. I bought Inferno, sat down, watched it through, and I do kind of see why people love this story so much. It's different, but at the same time it's still distinctly Doctor Who, and it still works. So the story focuses around the third Doctor, played once again by John Pertwee, and his companion Elizabeth Shaw, played by Caroline John, as well as Brigadier Alistair Gunn, Lethbridge-Stewart, played by Nicholas Courtney. Now, they are at Project Inferno, a government project which is being run by Professor Stahlman, played by Olaf Pooley. Now, Stahlman believes that if they drill a certain distance down into the Earth's crust, they can then kind of harness energy from beneath the Earth's crust and effectively kind of create new energy to power Britain and power the world. However, and the Doctor is mainly there just to use the nuclear reactor that the site has in order to try and repair his TARDIS, which, at this point in time, as we knew from previous adventures, the Time Lords have removed the Doctor's knowledge of how to pilot the TARDIS. They've removed his dematerialization circuit, and he's fairly now stranded in present day, or in this case the 1970s. However, the Doctor wants to make an attempt to repair it, and is using the nuclear reactor from Project Inferno in order to power it. However, even he and Liz Shaw, they know that something is not quite right about Project Inferno, as a kind of acid-like substance is bubbling to the surface that is extremely hot and is turning certain scientists who work on the project into kind of almost like zombies, creatures called primals. We have creatures that seek to effectively turn up the temperature of planet Earth in order for them to live, whereas everybody else would essentially melt. And while they try and bring this to the attention of Professor Stahlman, he is reluctant to listen to anyone, believing that they're all just trying to get in his way, and that if he can find a way of doing this, it will be a great help to everyone. With other members under his project, including his assistant Petra Williams, played by Sheila Dunn, and an advisor to the project, Greg Sutton, played by Derek Newark, as well as a man who is rather overseeing Stahlman's efforts, named Sir Keith Gold, played by Christopher Benjamin. Now, the first thing I do want to talk about here is Christopher Benjamin as Sir Keith Gold, because he is actually one of the few actors in Doctor Who who has actually appeared in it 3 times. But I know that other actors have managed to go further and have even more roles. But I think 2 roles I think is pretty good. 3 roles is approaching impressive. I mean, Peter Capaldi had 3 roles. He was Caecilius in The Fires of Pompeii. He was John Frobisher in Children of Earth. And of course he later became the Doctor. Christopher Benjamin is another case. He appeared here in 1970's Inferno as Sir Keith Gold. He would later appear as Henry Gordon Jago in 1977's The Talons of Weng Chiang, which I may leave a link up here for, as I think I have done a review of it. And he also appeared in 2008's Series 4 episode The Unicorn and the Wasp, which is one of my personal favourites, where he played Colonel Hugh Kerbishley. Anyway, that's not the kind of meat of the episode, though, because Sir Keith Gold, he is a man who is legitimately trying to do the right thing, but likewise Stahlman is reluctant to listen. Eventually, though, the Doctor uses the nuclear reactor to try and jumpstart his TARDIS, and in doing so, he only intends to go through like a few minutes into the future, but he ends up going not forwards in time, not backwards in time, but rather sideways, as the Doctor finds himself in a parallel universe, a parallel Earth. This one is under martial law, and it's under quite and aggressive martial law, as he ends up meeting section leader Elizabeth Shaw, the brigade leader, Lethbridge-Stewart, played once again by Nicholas Courtney, platoon underleader, Benson, played of course by John Levine, and even director Stallman and the like, and even Dr. Williams, played by Sheila Dunn. Basically all the same people, just very aggressive and very much under martial law, under kind of like a similar party that I have mentioned on the show before that was prevalent in the 1940s. Not them exactly, but definitely kind of in their style, believing that trying to hold the Doctor hostage until he tells them exactly what he's doing, which the Doctor repeatedly tries to tell them what's going on, but they're reluctant to listen. So it's up to him to try and find a way to try and stop their version of Project Inferno, but when that begins to slip, he has to find a way back to his own universe so he can warn them about the dangers of Project Inferno. Now, as I said, a lot of people recommended this one, and honestly I can see why. It is a really good story. I do see why people regard this as one of their favourites of the Third Doctor era. Now, in terms of companions, I know that Caroline Jones, Elizabeth Shaw, I know some people may like her. Personally, for me, my favourite Third Doctor companion was Jo Grant, but at the same time, Elizabeth Shaw was a nice change of pace, because there was a tendency with companions, especially the female ones in the 1970s and 1980s, that they would become the kind of characters who would repeatedly scream and have to be saved. Liz Shaw was different. She actually challenged the Doctor, and this was actually her last story, as in the following story, Terror of the Autons, which I think I have also done a review of previously. She said she had returned. They said she had returned to Cambridge, and thus Jo Grant joined the Doctor. So this was Caroline John's last episode, or last story, and I think she does good here. She doesn't given a lot to do, but at the same time, she does do well between the two characters, Liz Shaw and section leader Elizabeth Shaw. Overall, I think Inferno is a story that is definitely one of the greats, and you should check out if you get the chance. So there you go, there's my quick little review of 1970s Inferno. Will be my next classic acquisition? Don't know at this point, I'll have to wait and see. Till next time, see ya.